Ta-da! Hello, people. This is Alejandra. Today is September 6th. We don't have a lot of people here, although I made the effort at 12 o'clock at night. I realized that I hadn't sent you the invitation to Zoom, and I put it together. Please, guys, remember to check those videos. I think that this week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send an email to everybody. And in that email, I'm going to post the link to the Zoom. And I'm going to say, everybody, remember to watch the Zoom. And I was talking to the students that were here that when week 7, so this is our content, the class has changed slightly. We have week 7 is fully animation. It used to be already movie clips and buttons, so we were shifting. We're still, preparing that transition towards interactivity, but this is the last week of working in animation. I have a number of students that I was looking at the assignments. I have a number of students that either forgot or didn't have time to include a mask in their assignment. I know that it was a lot because we had 2 different ways of creating curves inside anime, and that takes a lot of planning, isn't it? So if you didn't include a mask, remember that in this next assignment, that is also animation, you can include a mask. And then you're going to make a comment in the assignment 7, and say, hey, Alejandra, I included a mask. Can you please give me some points for week 6? So that's for people that did a good job and actually forgot the part of a mask. I also have like 5 or 6 students that haven't still submitted assignment 6. And now is the point where going behind the class is dangerous because we're transitioning towards interactivity. By the time we reach week 8 and week 9, 8 is buttons, 9 is interactivity. You don't want to be behind. You want to know everything that has been, at a certain level, everything that has been covered until now, because we're going to do a big jump, a big leap to the future. So I'm going to be also sending emails to people that haven't submitted to try to put them, everybody as far as we can, as much as we can, try to have everybody in a position where they have a solid idea about animating with Adobe Anime. Okay. So week 7, this whole page, guys, is completely new. A weekend working on this. So I know that we're going to be working with nesting, and my students historically, in the past, they get very like, I don't find nesting on the web. I'm trying to do a search for nesting and there's nothing about nesting. Well, you have to understand that the tutorials out there on Adobe Anime are very basic, very, very basic. In fact, I'm wondering if taking my videos and putting them public in YouTube, because people work here and we're working here. So nesting is when you use a symbol, and then in that symbol that you're using, you have other symbols inside. And my example is, you're planning to create a car, and that car is going to be a symbol, but you realize that in that car, you're going to need 4 wheels that are the same wheels. So what if you make a symbol that is a still image of a wheel? We're going to make it a graphic symbol when it's only one piece of artwork. And then we're going to repeat that symbol 4 different times in another symbol that is a car. So you make your wheel is done. You can make the wheel by inserting a symbol and creating directly a symbol. Let me show you here. So you can have your artwork and you can select it and right click on your artwork and choose here, convert to symbol. That is what we have done until now. When something is a still image, you want to work with a graphic. Remember that this is the registration, is where the little cross, are you going to be center inside the symbol? You're going to be a little bit, to the side to the symbol. So we usually choose between center and upper left. That is how things work on web, where you grab from here and then you go towards here and towards here. Everything, if I scale a browser, notice that the point that is fixed is that one, the 0, 0. And the browser, gets bigger. Yuck. Towards the left and towards below. So we usually have the registration here or here. That is the registration inside the symbol, the little cross. So that's one way of creating a symbol. But there's a second way of creating a symbol is, can I go straight ahead to insert menu and say, give me a new symbol? And then since what we're going to be doing inside movieclip symbols is usually animation, it's a good practice that when you know you're going to put something with animation, you just insert a new symbol. In this case, it's going to be a movie clip. Name of the symbol is fundamental because you're going to be looking at your library and pulling other symbols there. And because later on, we're going to give names on properties for coding purposes, and you want to understand what is the symbol that you're using. So when you insert symbol, you give it a name that you remember, no spaces, and then automatically you go inside that blank space that is the symbol, and you can insert animation. Sometimes, because we're humans and we're working on the fly, you animate something on the main timeline. You have, you know, your classic twin in the main timeline, and you say, it should have been a symbol. What do I do? There's a way. Meanwhile, you have a new symbol on the library, your movie clip. You can come back to the main stage and then do copy frames, paste frames. And I have here somewhere, where do I have it? Aquí está, my video on how to copy frames, paste frame. Really, copy frames, paste frames, I'm going to demonstrate it. Is selecting the chunk of animation, can be one layer or several layers, right clicking on the last frame, going through that side menu and saying copy frames. You see, going down here and you will see it's now called copy motion, paste motion. Makes sense because you're not copy pasting one thing, you're copy pasting a chunk of animation. So you could have your animation in the main timeline, copy from there, copy motion, then go inside your symbol, paste motion there, and now you have it inside. You'll have to drag the symbol back into the stage. I know that those things are complicated. So they're going to work if you can visualize in your head what is that you're trying to do. You need to keep a very clear image of what is that you're doing, visualizing. It's almost like we have to do exercises in visualization in order to do this. I'm going to do it in front of the software, but those are your help pages for if suddenly you say, I don't remember how to insert a new symbol. Okay, you come here and then you have it. I don't remember how do I define that if a symbol is going to be a graphic or is going to be a motion. Okay, whenever you get to this dialogue, I say new symbol or I say convert to symbol and I go back. And I go back to the same thing, the convert to symbol dialog box. And that's what I would say if what I want is a graphic or what I want is a movie clip. That's the easiest way. You could always go in properties and click on that symbol and go to the little diamond thing and say properties of that symbol and switch it. But since you're beginning, let's try to do things right from the very beginning and be very careful. Go slowly, don't run when you're making the symbol, and go step by step. I want to convert this to symbol. What type of symbol do I want? What type of name do I want? Okay, so this is a little bit hard surgery. We need to go, step by step. You don't want to leave the scissors inside the guy's pancreas. You don't want to leave your thread inside. So you go in, step by step, so everything is right. So as you see, I have several pages and tutorials. Some of my tutorials are going to be in an older version. Look at this one. This is how to make a movie clip symbol. And this is the famous lighter interface. That is not like the one that we have now, okay? And properties at the time, it was not up here, but it was here. But the purpose and what you're doing is exactly the same. So here I was showing a little bit how movie clips work. I'll show it right now. Don't worry, people. Okay. And regarding your assignment, this week you really need to practice before you work on the assignment. Let me come back to week 7. Let's see if I can manage. Yes. And here I have my assignment. So what we're working on is movie clip symbols. We know already graphic, now movie clip. Movie clip, we're usually using them to incorporate animation inside the movie clip because we want that movie clip to be playing a number of times. It's very important that your animation is going to have the shape of a loop. And what is a loop? A loop is an animation that begins and ends exactly the same way. So your first frame and your last frame need to be identical. So when it naturally plays back, because when you put a graphic symbol or a movie clip symbol on stage and you give it a lot of duration, it will be looping. whatever it has inside. So when this thing loops, we want it to look seamless. We don't want animation that is because the first time you watch that, you're like, please get me out of here. So you want an animation that is repeating. And I'm telling you somewhere that this is going to require that instead of you thinking in a linear way, now you're going to have to be thinking in a cyclic way. So I will show you this very interesting animation from a student, really nice. And he was so close to create a loop, but probably he didn't think that that was important. And that is very important. Loops are very important in multimedia because we generally don't work with linear components. We work with cycles. When you have something, when you have an interface, you don't know how long people are going to be looking at the interface. So you better have things looping in a nice way. So we're also going to be working with nesting that we're going to explain. And you have a complete folder for nesting files that I better download right now because that one I didn't have. Why? It's strange because zip files usually don't give a warning for safety. Is SWFs. But maybe I have SWFs inside the thing, and that's why I've never got a warning because of a zip file, and it's in the Soma server. Let me try the other one. This one comes. No. Okay. We're gonna see what is that we have there. So those are your 2 folders of sample files for this week. Let's go to Adobe Anime and a whole bunch of files already. Okay. So this is one of our students' work for week 6 for last week. And I'm going to export it to SWF so you see it. Oh, okay. Why is it bringing me back here? Because for some reason, he has in public settings that needs to be tested in the browser. This is something that I need to talk to you guys about. But let me come back here to control and say test movie in anime. Okay, so what is this? It's a good moment, this thing to show up. Until now, we're working in animation, in linear animation, and we're exporting as SWF. As the SWF is a very good format because it's all vector-based, so the files are small. And until still now, but ending this year, we could play it in the browser by working with an HTML. But that is changing. So the SWF format is not going to be accepted for web anymore. The Flash player in browsers are not going to be working. The Flash player is not going to be accepted on browsers. That means we cannot test things anymore there. So what is going to happen if you're doing an animation and you want to use it on the web? Instead of working with an ActionScript 3 file, and we create a new file, file new, you have your option of, yes, platform type. You want to work with ActionScript 3. That is the coding that you use when you're going to be exporting in an SWF format. And we're going to be talking about ActionScript 3 in 2 weeks. It's very similar to JavaScript, but it's not JavaScript. But you could also say, hey, I want a file that is HTML5 canvas. And then what happens? Your interface, your project looks exactly the same. But when you export, instead of compressing everything into a little file that is the SWF, it's going to convert all your animation into frame by frame, one image after the other. And it's going to orchestrate all those frames through HTML5 canvas. So therefore, you're going to be able to watch it on a browser without using an SWF format, okay? So the SWF format, we're going to reserve it for people later on when we're doing interactivity, that they're doing an interface. And we're going to be working with ActionScript 3. At the end, we're going to be exporting it as a player by itself. And if you're prototyping an app or a new website, you're going to be able to give that to your producers and to your programmers to extract assets from there. But you're going to be able to show a prototype that is actually functioning. So we're working with a program, this Adobe Anime. We have projects that are FLAs. That is not going to change. And in the future, If you're going for linear animation, you would probably choose HTML canvas. If you want linear animation that is going towards web, you want to see it on a browser. If you're working in animation because you're going to make a linear video, a beautiful video of your animation, then you're probably going to be exporting as QuickTime video. That is another possibility. So when you are exporting, you can be saying, I want to export a movie, I want to export video, I want to export an animated GIF. That's another possibility. And if you really like that type of linear animation for a story, then I really advise that you take MAD 118, that is 2D animation. We'll talk more about that class. I offer it in the fall semester, so I'm offering it right now. And if you have taken this class, that's a very good foundation for you to take the next one. So if you want linear video, you will be exporting as a QuickTime movie, or you will take the 2D animation class and I will tell you more ways of doing things. If you're going towards web, you will probably work with an HTML canvas and export. But if you're doing that, you will not have interactive features. And so what he did, I hope that this is an action scripting 3 class, and not an action scripting 3 type of document. And it's not very easy to know. But he was exporting this straight ahead in the browser, and I don't want that. So I've gone to control, and in the test movie, I've said, you know, can we please test in anime? And there it is as an SWF. And let's look at his thing. It's a very interesting thing. There's a track that is going, you know, through the wildness. And now it's going in front of a building and stops there. You're seeing weird things happening with the with the trees, isn't it? That's because he set a mask in a strange way. And I'll talk a little bit now about the mask so he knows. And he finishes there at the end. Well, if instead of finishing there, here we have our track that is going around. Do you see all those weird things that are happening? They're happening because he has a mask over here, and the mask is not complete. If you have trees and you have a big mask behind, you better have enough dough, you know, enough shape, so we can see everything. So I have the feeling, let me see what he has in the mask. It's better. I want to see it. The trees. So the trees are the mask, makes sense. But what he has as mask, those are shapes that are missing chunks, and the trees are doing like that. They're panning. So he should have like a big fill. And I told him, it doesn't make a lot of sense that you're going to be filling the shapes of trees with a flat green, because you could have made the tree green to begin with and you don't need a mask. That happens a lot. People that devise masks for things that don't really need masks. But what if you had a gradient or you had a pattern that you want to be, you know, changing as it goes? That would make sense, that you want the tree to have a mask because what is inside the tree is changing. So if he had a pattern of greens, it would look like, whoa, there are lighting effects in those trees as they're going. So, okay. I told him that he could repeat a mask next assignment. Then he has something very interesting. The sun and the plane both are working with guides. So that's where he put the energy this week. And then at a certain point, our track goes in front of a building. Very nice, goes in front of the building. Maybe he could do a little stop, isn't it? Even a little guide, now going in, coming back. And then it would be ideal that the track passed that building and we came back. What am I doing, Alejandra? I'm confusing time with space. A ver. Let's make it a little, okay. And we came back, he even has it here. And we came back to that beginning. You know, all he has to do is after this, having a little bit more green and the end of the green matching this level that it matches, and then begin right here. And we'll see again, you understand? So he has a pan, a long image, and he's panning through, and he ends there. Well, if at the very end, he left, you know, he ended with the track going in front of the green, and then match again back to that long thing, we could begin and end in the same place. We could come back to frame number 1, and we'll be there. He would probably, at the end, have to put that same image again. So we go through the whole image, but then we have it again here, and then clink, and there, at the same position that he had the first frame. And doing that requires checking a lot, because you're checking, what this was looking and what the other was looking. Sometimes what I do is I would come back to frame number 1 and take a snapshot. A snapshot in a Mac is Shift, Command. You can do Shift, Command 3 or Shift, Command 4. First, let me double click and put it so I see the whole thing. And now that I'm seeing where's my stage, I do Shift, Command 4, and I get this thing. And then I say, okay, what I want is exactly this area. That is the area of my stage. And I let it go. And on my desktop, I have exactly what is the first frame looking like. And then I put it in a layer at the end so I can match the beginning and the end. So remember, in at least one of your animations, we want to see a loop. That's an animation that begins and ends in the same way. His animation is very, very long because it's a complete story. So doing a loop with a long story is challenging because you have the first frame in frame number 1 and the last one can be in 200. And matching those things that are so far away on the timeline, you do the trick. You take a snapshot of how the first one looks and you try to match the last one to be very, very close or identical. But when you're creating a short loop, what would be a short loop? I don't know, maybe you have a tree and you want the tree to be doing this. Or you want a cloud that is kind of like, morphing. So you want a classic twin and the cloud. So it's an animation that is no more than 20 frames, but is transforming into this and then slowly coming to that and transforming into this and slowly coming to that. So that's a loop. So we want to work with animations that are loop, and we want those animations inside movie clip symbols. Okay. So I'm gonna close this one so we have it in place. I'll show later, Julia, that they did a very good job with masks. This is with curved, I'll show it later. And I want to come back to this one. So a graphic symbol, that is the one you have seen last week, and a movie clip symbol are very, very similar. They both are technically capable of storing one image or storing an animation, both. But there's a difference in behavior. An animation that is storing a graphic symbol, the graphic symbol depends directly on the main timeline. But the movie clip symbol, try to think, it's like it goes by itself. It has an animation inside. And that animation is not looking at the frames in the main timeline, it's only looking at itself. So it would play independent of how many frames do you have in the main timeline. That might seem a little bit strange to you. I want to show you this. I'm going to show you one time with the whole thing done, and then I'm going to do it in a new file so you see how it works. So to begin with, what I have is I have an element here. Maybe I should put it, no, this is a good size. I have an element here, and let me put myself out of the way. I have an element here, and when I select it, I don't see it very well because it's a rectangle. And when I select, I see I see my little belly button, that is the axis of rotation, and I see the little cross, that is the center of the universe inside the symbol. We talked about that the other week. So I see my element selected, and properties is telling me this is a graphic symbol, and it's an instance of rectangle. So that means that this is the library, and in the library I have something that called rectangle that is identical. Okay, so what I have on a stage is an instance of a library symbol that happens to be a graphic. Look at the icon for a graphic that is called rectangle. And if I double click from here or from here to edit the symbol, to see the symbol in isolation, if I double click, what I see is just a normal rectangle. Okay, so I have a name. I didn't name the layer. That's not very nice. Let's name it rectangle. I am inside the symbol. And now I'm going to go out and I see my rectangle symbol on a stage. And I see that it's an instance of a graphic symbol called rectangle. And I check on the library and rectangle is there. And I'm applying a normal classic twin. You see my purple thing. So it's going from an in keyframe where it has this position and this rotation, and an out keyframe where, in the same line, you see that I made a guide. If you're asking, how do you make a guide? A guide is something that is for you to help you place things, but it's not going to be exported. And you can get a guide like in Photoshop. You need to release rulers first. And you can do it by doing Command R, or you can go to View and say, show me rulers. And when you have rulers, from the ruler, you can pull out like a line from physically dragging from the ruler. And what you're dragging is a guide. I'm going to put it out because I don't need it. There's that. And meanwhile, you're working with a black arrow, you could move that guide. So in this case, I put the guide because I wanted to make sure that at the beginning and at the end, my little guide was at the same level. And you might be saying, well, Alejandra, on top of moving, it's also rotating. Why is that happening? Because I selected the tween, and down here I say, I want to be rotating clockwise. I want one complete revolution clockwise. So that's what it's doing. It's doing one complete revolution clockwise. Now let's look at easing. Do I have easing? Do I select these? And yes, I have an ease in and ease out as an ease effect. I'm doing all properties together. That is fine. And then I might click here and see that I have ease in and ease out. That means slower at the beginning, going a little bit faster than normal, slowing a little bit at the end. Here we have our curve of speed, okay? And I'm choosing cubic, that is the second one. So quad would be a little bit less pronunciated, cubic a little bit more, quad a little bit more, point a little bit more, and then just we go to sine that is like a very standard type of curve, very, very soft. So I think I was in cubic, isn't it? So I double click on cubic, that is my ease. We did eases, there are changes of speed last week, and now we can practice with that on every type of animation, every type of tween that we do. We can work with eases. There are changes of speed. So I'm putting it here just for the sake of it. So you remember that is something that you can do. So this is a normal tween. Yeah, no, not too much mystery. Now, what would happen if I wanted to have this animation? I already have a symbol. That is my rectangle guide that I'm moving around. What would happen if I wanted to have this animation inside a graphic symbol? And this is the case that I told you before. So I already have an animation in the main timeline. I say, I wanted this inside a symbol. Remember that you can put animation inside a graphic symbol or a movie clip symbol. They just work slightly different. So I'm selecting all my animation. Notice that it's going to copy even the name of the layer that is called classic tween. And in the last frame, I'm right clicking on that one. And I'm going to say copy frames. Yes, copy frames and not copy motion. Okay, now, if I want to put it in a symbol and I don't have a symbol, I cannot say convert to symbol because it's not going to take the complete animation. It will take only one element, and that's not what I want. I'm going to insert a new symbol and then put inside the animation. And I'm going to have to name it different because I already have one like that, but I'm doing it again. So insert new symbol. And I say, okay, how do I want this thing to go? I'm going to call it rectangle underscore animation. So it's different than the other one, okay? And it's a graphic symbol. And create new symbol. And automatically I'm going to go inside that symbol and there's going to be nothing. Bing! I'm not on the stage, I'm inside rectangle animation. And the only thing that I see is that famous center of the world that is a cross. So I'm gonna right click again on that first frame and I say, now I wanna paste frames. Clink. And it goes to a place that I'm not very enchanted, because look what it is. But I'm gonna leave it there. You know, like I would have wanted that it would begin maybe here and go there, but I'm not gonna change it now. So it's gonna stay like that. Here I have my animation inside rectangle animation. I go back to the main stage and rectangle animation is nowhere to be found because it's in the library. That is where it's supposed to be. You know, rectangle animation, here it is. So if I want rectangle animation to be here, I'm gonna have to create a new layer and I'm gonna say rectangle animation symbol, just so we remember what this is. Okay. Let me see where the other one is located. Where could I put it? I could put it in the middle. So I'm going to take rectangle animation and I'm going to paste it there between. Okay, there I have rectangle animation. So rectangle animation, I only have one keyframe because it's a symbol, but rectangle animation contains the animation. So I'm seeing the same effect. So you see, placing an animation straight ahead on the timeline or inside a symbol has the same effect. What is the advantage? That if instead of being, one lonely layer, I had an animation that was made of 3-4 layers, by putting it inside a symbol, I would be really cleaning up the main timeline, isn't it? Instead of having 17,000 layers, I will have less. And if I want to edit, so once I have that, I could take this one out and say, I only need the animation that I have inside. I'm going to leave it there because we're going to be looking at something. So animation is there. And it seems to be identical. It's just ending a little bit over there because it's also begun a little bit to the right. But it's the same animation. They're both exactly. Now, what would happen if instead of putting the animation inside a graphic symbol, I put my animation inside a movie clip symbol? How do I do that? Well, I remember that I'm going to do it again so you remember. I have my layer selected. I right-click. I'm right-clicking on a laptop, so I have to, I don't have a right mouse. So what I'm doing is I'm holding control. But if you have a mouse, you can right-click. If you have a mouse that only has one button, then that's your business. You need to hold control in order to see the right. So I'm coming here and I'm seeing copy frames. And I'm going to insert a new symbol. But this time, instead of graphic, I'm going to say, no, what I need is a movie clip symbol. Okay. And I'm going to name it rectangle underscore animation. And then I'm going to put MC. So I remember that this is the one that is inside a movie clip. When I look at the library, this is why it's so important putting things in the library. Now, I already had one called rectangle moving MC that I had done before. So now I'm going to have one rectangle moving MC and one rectangle animation MC. Okay. So I say, go ahead. Now, I'm just creating a new symbol. So I'm inside a new symbol where there's nothing. And I'm going to right click again, and I'm going to say, paste my frames. And then here I have my same animation that I had before with the same horrendous aligning. But this time it's a movie clip. And look at the icon of the movie clip, recording animation, different. It looks like a little bit of like a wheel from a clock, an old clock, from a mechanical device. And when I go out, of course, it's not here because I made it, so it's in the library. So if I want it here, I'm gonna have to put it here, and ideally in a new folder, in a new layer, so we don't go crazy. So let's do this, and on top of this one, selecting this one and saying, give me another layer that is on top. And I'm gonna say animation MC, just because, I could make this longer and I would see a little bit better the names. So my previous movie clip was there. I want to see the ones that I did before. So my previous graphic symbol was there and I made it purple to know. So this is a graphic symbol. This is a graphic symbol. If you want, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this one also purple. So we know those are the graphic ones. So I'm selecting this guy, coming here, going to my color effects. I can apply color effects to a symbol. And this is a graphic symbol containing an animation. So I'm going to go to tint. And that's not the color that I want. I want some other color that is more like reddish, and I don't want that much, I want less. Yes, there I am. Okay, so my two graphic symbols that are actually doing the same thing are the same color. And then I did have a movie clip symbol, but I'm gonna put a new one in here. So I select my keyframe because I want to work in that layer. This is like Photoshop. You need to select the keyframe before, select the layer before you do anything, so you know that you're working in the right layer. And here I have my symbol, that is the last one that I made, that is rectangle animation movie clip. Contains the exact same thing, but it's a movie clip, not a graphic symbol. And I'm going to be putting it on top. And I wanted to put it on top of the previous. Well, okay. I will put it unlock. This guy's going to go a little higher, and this guy is just going to go here. And we're going to tint it also in purple because we know that it's a movie clip, so we know which is which. So tint again. Oh, straight ahead and it's in place. Perfect. Okay. So what I have is normal one happening on the main timeline, graphic symbol containing the animation, graphic symbol containing the animation, exactly the same thing, and movie clip symbol. And I've saved this as a surprise for you. Look what happens when I play. the movie clip symbol doesn't go anywhere. It's not playing. So I've put all over canvas for you to remember, movie clip symbols do not play in the main timeline. And you might be wondering, why am I doing all this of putting an animation inside a symbol and then it doesn't play? Well, it doesn't play in the main timeline because it doesn't have to do with the main timeline. When you put a movie clip on a stage, you know, we put it on stage, there's a keyframe, it knows that it's there, but it doesn't have to be playing according to this. So it's not doing it. Now, what would happen when I export this? Let me export and make sure that I'm testing movie in anime. Yes. So then let me export, export to it. So now, the one that is in the main timeline, the ones that are inside a graphic symbol, and the ones that are inside a movie clip symbol, all work the same. Like, wow. So then why? Why is one not working inside and one working inside? Let's look at it again. I'm going to give more frames. My whole animation lasts 35 frames. So 70 would double. So I'm going to do a little bit less. I'm going to put 60. I'm selecting everybody and I'm pressing F5 to have frames. And in the main timeline, what I see is that we have the complete animation. The one upper is movie clips, so it's not even doing it. And then it tries to do again the whole thing. The ones that are inside the symbol, the animation that was here on the main timeline, there's no more animation. So this is its last position. It doesn't change anymore. But the one inside the graphic symbol tries to play again. But you see that it doesn't make it to the end because it doesn't have enough frames. So what is happening inside is kind of dependent on the main timeline. It's only playing partially because I didn't give enough frames. If I gave more, if I give 70, it would do double. See, double, it reaches the end. But if I don't give enough, it will not finish. Shift, delete S5 to delete frames, and only plays half. And in the meantime, the movie clip, we don't even know what they're doing. You know, we don't see anything. So let's export it and see what happens now. The graphic symbol is not really finishing and then coming back, but the movie clip symbol didn't lose sync. It's doing its perfect motion. Why? Because the movie clip symbol is not looking at the main timeline. It's doing its thing, so it doesn't care. Now, let's go to a dramatic point in time. Let's see what happens if I take all those frames and I delete them all. And we're left only with one keyframe. The one that had a classic twin is not doing anything, and it has one keyframe. The one that is a graphic symbol, those, and has an animation inside, it has an animation inside, but there are not enough frames to show that animation. Let me for a second put it like that, only with 10. So it does whatever it can do. It has an animation inside, but there's only 10 frames, so it can only show the first 10 frames of the animation. And then the other one, I don't know if you're already guessing ahead of me, what's going to happen? The other one can play it. Because the movie clip symbol does not care about the timeline. It gets the order to play and it goes with all the horses. It just plays. So maybe by looking at this, you're beginning to understand why graphic symbols were very good to play in the main timeline, to play in linear animation. But movie clip symbols are very good for interactivity. Because when we design interactivity, you're going to put a stop in the main timeline. And we're going to be waiting until the users are activating some button. And you don't want to have the whole interface frozen. Maybe there's something that you want to be capable of still playing. And that something that is going to be still playing is whatever you put inside the movie clip. So the movie clip symbols, you don't see them in the main timeline because they don't need frames. They don't need the permission of the main timeline to play. They play by themselves, okay? So they're very good for interactive use and they're very good for defining nesting. Nesting is that business where I make a symbol made of other symbols. Okay, so this is the part that is regarding movie clips. For a second, I'm gonna open here. And do I have any question with, I mean, I know that it's very new and that you have to look at it again. But do you have a fundamental problem? We don't even have Vadim here. He's usually, you know, the voice of the public, the interpolation, the one that tells me what are the problems. Julia and Luisan, can you think of something that could be complicated? Let me go back so we see our 35 frames. Try to think. Any question that could help people that are not understanding what's going on? So we have animation. Mira, I think I destroyed it with my business of deleting, but don't worry. I select this guy. I go here. That's one. I make a keyframe, and it's going to be logically in the same place. I'm going to come here. Yeah, I was doing it right. I just lost the keyframe when I began deleting. So can you think of a question that somebody that does not understand this could have?
I don't know. It makes perfect sense to me.
It makes sense to you? It's not a little bit confusing, this business of when do you convert to symbol and when do you create a new symbol and then put something inside? You can understand the difference? The main practical difference is if I have something on a stage and I right click and convert it to symbol, let me do it. I'm going to do it in the next one, but let me do it here for people that say, oh, I don't remember what you're talking about. So I'm going to be drawing anything that is going to be horrendous because look at the colors that I have selected. So I'm going to do something like, oh, oh, oh. So I have artwork that is raw. And if I select it and I right click and I say convert to symbol, I make a symbol. This is going to be my heart. And it's going to be a graphic symbol. And I'm okay with having the center in the belly button. You see? This is a graphic symbol, but it's already on stage. Okay? Because I took the artwork, I converted to symbol. So what was on a stage is on a stage. Now it's a symbol. So if I look at properties, is an instance of heart, but it's already on a stage. What is confusing is that when you work with insert new symbol, you make a new symbol, and that symbol is going to be in the library, but it's going to be nowhere to be found on the main timeline. Because it has, so then what you're going to have to do is create a new layer and drag that symbol from the library to the main timeline. And that's what I'm scared with people that are barely keeping up here with the things that we're doing. They're going to insert a new symbol and they're going to say, and I never found it again, because I know that those people are not going to name the symbol right. So they're going to look at the library and they're going to say, I have 17,000 untitled, I don't know. I don't find my symbol anymore. So please remember, when you're making or inserting a symbol, the name is fundamental because you need to find it again. And then the type, it is a graphic symbol or is it a movie clip symbol? You know, that's important. And you see that they even have different icons. Now, the behavior of the movie clip symbols being rebels and not wanted to follow and play on the timeline at the very beginning is just annoying. But later on, when you see the amount of headaches that you can save by working with movie clip symbols, you're a little bit happier. There's only one slight danger when working with movie clip symbols, and is that you're working with movie clip symbols, but that's a project that you're going to be exporting as a QuickTime movie. Then you have a problem because linear stuff that does not understand movie clip symbols. Now, if this ever happens to you, that you have a piece that you really like and you want to export it into a QuickTime, and you said, what do I do now? All my animation was movie clip and it's not working. Look what you can do. It's a dangerous thing, but I'm going to do it. I select my element that it says, hey, I'm a movie clip symbol and I'm an instance of rectangle animation. Okay, rectangle animation MC is going to be, yes, rectangle animation MC. So on the stage, I can have something that is a movie clip symbol and I can tell it, hey, modify your behavior for this time. And in properties, say, I want you to be working as a graphic. So now this guy is working as a graphic and he's playing. He's playing on the main timeline. Although it was born as a movie clip symbol, but I'm asking it to work here as a graphic. So they're both movie clip symbols. One is working as an official movie clip symbol, so it doesn't pay attention. And the other one, I've asked it to behave for this time on the stage as a graphic symbol. So that's something that I sometimes do when I have something inside a movie clip symbol and I need to be exporting to SWF every time that I want to see something. I can for a second say, hey, do you mind working as a graphic symbol? And then I see what on earth is happening here. And then when I have it all together, come back and say, okay, back to the movie clip. And then it doesn't play again. No, it's normal movie clip. So it's a little trick, okay? But I don't want people doing that. When I'm going to be looking at the library and whatever is behaving as a movie clip symbol, I wanted to see it being born as a movie clip symbol, okay? So naming, very important. The role of graphic symbols, the role of movie clip symbols. I'm not explaining how to do loops because this is up to you. You do a little animation and you put the first frame and the last frame absolutely the same with whatever you're using, okay? So I want to begin looking at nesting, and I'm going to look at that lovely car that I created. When you look at nesting, I'm in a different place, so my library is different. Now it's showing me the library of my new file. So I have a car, and I don't know if this car is moving. I have two scenes, one and two. And the first one is just to show you how to create a card. I have a wheel. Okay, so this is a symbol that I made here, and I made a wheel. The one that you saw in your page didn't have the radius. I put the radius because later on I'm going to make it rotate. And I wanted to have something that if you rotate a circle, you don't see anything going on. I actually realized later that my inside circle is not a perfect circle. So you would see a little bit of when rotating. So this is my wheel. And if I go inside and I double click, it has two layers because I have, the inner part with the radius and then the outside part and the inside part, but it's only one symbol. So it's a graphic symbol. Perfect. So if I wanted to make a car, I can make a car here very quickly. I could take one wheel, Command C, and no, Command C, Command V. So another wheel. This one's going to go there. Command V, another wheel. Command V, another wheel. And it has to go on top. So that one and that one, and we'll leave it to that. Right? So I have my four wheels. And then I select this one and this one, and maybe I'm going to make them a little bit smaller. Almost together. That's not a big idea, but let's try. A little smaller. And that one is to go a little bit out. And I also want them a little bit darker. How am I going to put them a little bit darker? I'm going to go to that place where I can apply a color effect to a symbol. And I'm going to say brightness. I want a little less. That's it. So that's how I have my other wheels. So I have four wheels. There are four instances, all instances of the same symbol. That is my wheel symbol, okay? So once I have an element in the library, I can pull as many copies as I want on a stage, and they all depend on the same guy. Look, this guy is an instance of wheel, but this guy is also an instance of wheel, and this guy has a color effect, but it's an instance of wheel. So I have my four guys. And if I wanted to make a car, let me do a really, really ridiculous car right here. Kind of like an SUV. I'm using the pen tool. And when I have it already, I'm going to go to my famous gradient. I'm going to take my bucket and I'm going to put it doesn't have windows, but what can we do? If I wanted to have windows, what I can do is make a silly square saying that I don't want any fill on the square. So one window and another window, and you say, Alejandra, those are very rudimentary windows. Okay. I'm going to leave that. And now I'm going to make that window that looks a little bit more organic. Chunk. 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 It's going to have to be. I'm going to have to do, guys. This is my car. And do you see that this piece went behind all the guys? Doesn't matter. I'm going to select all my guys all together. I'm going to right click And I'm gonna say, convert to symbol. And we're gonna say, what type of symbol do we want now? Let's call it graphic symbol. And it's gonna be car2. I'm trying not to have spaces. And registration in the middle, that's fine. Now I'm going inside. And I'm saying all my wheels. I could solve it in a different way, but this is better for me. I'm going to take all the wheels, copy, take them out of there, put a new layer, put it underneath. Wheels. And now paste in place. Shift, Command, V. Then they go exactly where they were before. And now this is my guy, my chassis, and I would like it to be a little bit more here. It's a little bit of a disaster, but what can we do? What can we do, guys? And I never applied to this thing my gradient, or did I do it and it disappeared? Okay, there it is. Now I like it slightly, only slightly better. But what can we do, guys? We're on a rush. So this is a car that is using nesting. The first level of nesting, that is, I'm using elements, I'm reusing other symbols. I have 4 times my wheels. And as you see, I did it on the main stage, and then I saved the complete thing as a symbol. Why I can do it like that, convert to symbol? Because I have no animation. So that is fine, okay? So that's my first car. Delete it, have a similar car. If I double click, what I have here is, a ver, I even put the wheels in the rear in one layer, the wheels in the front in another layer, the chassis in another layer, and my bumper in another layer. That was my car. Why do I work on layers? Because I never know what is going to happen. What other feature I'm going to want in this car? And if I put it in layers, it's easier to organize. But this is also a steel car that has the first level of nesting. Okay, good. Let's go to scene number 2. How are we doing with time? We're doing good. With juice, not so good. This computer is saying that it wants some juice. Okay, let's all have juice. Go here and go to the first one. But you see, this is a different car. It has a little bit of a rear. It's not so flat. And here I did something different. I have the wheels, the same wheels, but I've created a new symbol in which the one wheel is moving. And then as a result, they're not going to be playing here. But when I go out, I have to test the scene, not test the movie. So control test scene. Those wheels are rotating. You see? So those wheels are moving. How do you do that? That's a little bit of a delicate thing that I'm going to explain from scratch. So I have a wheel that is just a still image of a wheel that is not moving. But then I'm going to have to insert a new symbol and create an animation of that wheel moving. So either I animate the wheel here, and then I copy the whole thing and put it inside a symbol, or I create a new symbol, put the wheel, and move it. Let's do it. I'm going to insert a new symbol, and I'm going to be calling it wheel moving, wheel animation, so I don't confuse with the previous one. Animation. And this time, I'm going to want it not as a graphic, or I'm going to leave it as a graphic, so you see the consequence. I'm going to put the wheel animation as a graphic. And who I need here is my wheel. So here I have my wheel, and I'm dragging it here. Here I have my wheel. It would be lovely if it would be in the center. So how do I do that? Either I begin like matching one thing with the other, if not wanted to do it very good, or I go to align, and I say align everything to stage, align in the middle, align in the middle. And now it's in the perfect center. Okay. So I have my wheel in the center, and I want this guy to rotate, not to move, because I'm going to be moving in the main stage. I just want it to rotate. We're moving that car in place. So later on, we can make it go from one place to the other. So I'm going to move it in 15 frames. What if I move it in 20 frames? So I make another keyframe there. and we do a classic tween. Select the first one and say, give me a classic tween. And it's not doing anything. But I am gonna come here to properties. I'm gonna select not the element, but the tween. And in rotate, I'm gonna say that I want clockwise, 1 revolution. And it's gonna be now, no ease, because it has to be, I don't want to do oing, oing, oing. I want the movement in this case to be constant. When a wheel is rotating, it's a constant movement. And here you're going to see that my inside circle was not perfect. You see, like, but I have a wheel that is moving, and it's moving in 20 frames, okay? So now I could come back to that little copy, get out of wheel animation. So it's not here. I'm going to do the second car. Remember my very flat card that didn't look very brilliant? Card 2, no, card 2. And I'm gonna put it in this layer. So where are you, card 2? You're here, and you're as a graphic symbol and as a movie clip. Let's put it like that. This is the one. Bing! And for a second, we're not gonna be looking at the other one. This one, let's take it out. This card is a little too big. So let's make it a little smaller. Let's scale it down. Here's my car. And this car has wheels, but the wheels are not moving. So I'm gonna go inside the symbol. By the way, I'm seeing still the road because I'm editing from the stage. Let me do it from here. So you only see the symbol by itself, and then it's okay that it's bigger. So remember that I had the chassis in this one. I don't want to see it. My problem is the wheels. I'm going to select another layer, and I'm going to call it wheels 2. There are different ways of doing this. What I need to do is replace those wheels, this symbol that is not moving, with the symbol that has the wheel moving. And there's a way that you can do it by swapping a symbol, but that can be confusing. So we're going to do it this way. We're going to put those guys in purple, so I know where they are, but I'm going to lock it, so I cannot touch it, okay? And then in wheels 2, I'm going to be bringing the wheel that contains animation, and I'm going to be putting it in the same place. And then the wheel that contains animation, and put it in the same place, and I'm going to put the ones that need to go to the back. That is this one and this one. And they have to be a little bit smaller. Did it work? Yeah, it's a little bit smaller than the other one, but it works. I'm going to just copy paste this one. Copy, paste normal, and then I put in place. Only one problem, the small one is in front. So what do you do when an element, you want it to have it in the same layer because you're working quickly, and now suddenly it's in front instead of being in the back? Well, you just right click it, you go to arrange, and you say bring that to the back. Okay, that's an important one. In the right click, in the same place that you copy paste, and in the same place that you copy and paste animation, motion, frames, and in the same, there what you are gonna do is we're gonna arrange and send it to the back. Okay, now I also want it to be a little bit tinted, remember? So I'm gonna select the both two at the same time. And I'm gonna be brightness and make it. Okay, so now I have wheels that I know they contain animation, okay? Now, if I only have one frame, I'm gonna see this thing moving? No, it's a graphic symbol. Let's imagine that I only put them. It will only do this. Oh, it's radial, so it works very good. But you will see only a section of the animation. So if what I have is a graphic symbol that is coming here, and I want to see that my complete motion, I'm going to have to make it the same length, 25 frames or 20 frames long. Let me go with ting. Let me put something just for a second for you to see what's going on. I'm gonna make a square, and I'm gonna put it here, and then by the time we're here, I'm gonna make it a circle. And then I'm inside. It might be a little bit confusing because you're like, what the heck am I seeing? I think I chose classic 2 instead of shape 2. Shift. Yes, there we have. So this is the deformation that I want. And by the time I reach here, the last frame, I don't know, you might be saying like, what the heck is going on? I'm inside one wheel, but I'm seeing all the other wheels washed out. Let me change it. Why am I doing this? Because I want you really to see what is the complete animation. So the complete animation that is 20, we would end with a circle. Let me go back to cartoon. And if I only have 10, I'm not completing the animation, isn't it? It worked, you know, I was very lucky and it worked because in that circle movement, it looks like I have the complete movement, but I actually didn't finish it. To get the complete thing, I will have to go to 20 frames. And now I see my full animation, okay? Why is this thing happening? Why do I have to have all my animation here? Because I made it a graphic symbol. And when I go out, no, remember, we're not seeing this guy, but this guy is there. And when I go out and see my car here, if I export it like that, I will not see anything moving because I need frames for that to play. So I will have to put it kind of like, let's put 30 frames. Now I see it over there. I see the things behind. Why? Because I have frames. But if I leave it only one, I will not see it. So this is when it pays that whenever you have animation, and remember that I have a number of animation now, because I'm inside a car and the car has wheels, but each one of those wheels is not the steel wheel, it's an animation. So if I double click, I have an animation. Remember? I can take this layer out because I don't need it anymore. No, not make another one. I can throw this layer to the trash and I have my wheel, okay? Then I go here and I have my complete animation. But instead of having them, let's take the chassis out. Instead of having them all as graphic symbols, for now we're gonna change. We're gonna say, you are gonna be behaving like a movie clip. You are gonna be behaving like a movie clip. You are gonna be behaving like a movie clip. And you are gonna be behaving like a movie clip. What is the consequence? They still have an animation inside, but we don't need the frames. So we'll take everybody and we'll say, just leave it with one frame. It doesn't matter, the animation is inside. Animation. Now remember that here I have an animation and this guy that I'm moving is also a symbol. This is the steel wheel. So the steel round wheel is inside this wheel animation doing its move. And then this complete animation is inside the car. You see how the nesting is getting almost like Katrina, no, how do you call it? Katrina? Yeah, I think it's Katrina. The Russian dolls, there's a doll, and inside there's another doll, and inside there's another doll. That is nesting. So now I have my animation working as a graphic symbol. And I can say, hey, you are also going to be working as a movie clip symbol. Now, this is going to be interesting because the other one is going to work also when I export. Let me do something very quickly. Sorry. I'm going to select on this one and make it a guide. And if I make it a guide, it will not export and we will not see it. And we're going to control and test only this scene. And here you have. We have a number of frames. This thing is always working perfect. I could only make one and it would also work. Why? Because I have a car that is a movie clip symbol that contains wheels with animation that are movie clip symbols. And those wheels that are moving, yes, contain the wheel that was steel. So I have 3 levels of nesting, but all the layers that contain animation are movie clips. So I don't have to be worrying about how many frames was that one, and inside this one that has also enough frames that, you know, like suddenly you're worried about the proportions of each one. You're working with movie clips and you don't care. Everybody's set to 1 frame and they're doing their business because they don't care about time. Okay, so this is our business. So I'm gonna do backwards. I'm gonna take this guy, that was my previous one, and put it back to normal. And then this lovely little car that I've made, I'm gonna double click on the little rectangle and this one, make it a guide. So I can see the other one. So I don't wanna see it, but I wanna see it's my other one. And what happened with my animation? Did I put it in the, my animation is in scene 2, sorry. So here's my animation. This is the part that I wanted you to see. So the car is animating. We don't see it, but it's animating inside. It's animating in place. What is the advantage of rotating in place? That then the change of position can happen outside. You can say this car that is rotating is going to be rotating here, but some frames later is going to be rotating there. So it's going from one place to the other. And since the rotation is happening inside the symbol, it's doing its rotation. And then on the next one, I think that I even apply some kind of ease. Yes, I apply a little bit of ease. So we will zoom. And then at a certain point, it turns when it's here and it goes here. It doesn't work perfect. Now you can understand why I drew the back of the car, because it was looking really funky. And it's still not perfect, but it serves the purpose. No, not the best. When the wheels move, it will be a little more picturesque. So let's try it. Control, test movie, test scene. And we have my guy. First is in place, and then it's moving. And it's still doing it. Okay? So when you have animation inside, one property can be working inside and the other one can be working outside, especially rotation in place. We do this also, even with a walk cycle into the animation, we do the walk cycle in place. So look in the video, I'm doing it wrong. So you can be walking in place and then very careful. You will have that symbol that will be here in one keyframe and here in another keyframe. You have to be careful because if you make it advanced too much, it will look like it's moonwalking, isn't it? Like that doesn't make sense when it's moving. But if you do it right, you can have it moving up on the stage everywhere. And you just did a walk cycle that was in place. So this business of nesting also allows you to do something inside and something outside. Divide properties working in different places. Okay. How are we doing, guys? Do you have a question or we're doing good? Because if we have time, we have a little bit of time and 15 minutes, I would like to show the other files that I have for nesting. Is something that you want to ask about nesting? Is there something that you want to ask about nesting, Julia and Lisan? Or we're
No,
good?
I'm good.
Good. Lisan, are you good?
I think I'm fine.
Oh, that I think. Okay. If you have problems understanding this, the very beautiful thing is that today at 3, we have Lindsay that sent a message. We have Lindsay having tutoring hours. So she sent the Zoom, and at 3, you can have a session with her. She's very good. She has made tutorials for me in how to do nesting for advanced classes. So she's very good at nesting. So you can go to her. Maybe you want help with a mask. Maybe you want help with this business of nesting. Maybe you want help with the difference between graphic and movieclip symbols. Guys, everybody, I'm going to send an email. As soon as I finish, I'm going to send an email to the whole class and remember their tutoring hours this Tuesday, 3 to 4 with Lindsay. And she's going to have tutoring hours every Tuesday. And then you still have yet another option. I mean, luxurious world, because we're 2 classes blended in one and they're coming from different budgets. You also have another opportunity on Friday that you would know more if you're getting in trouble or not, because you would be more advanced in your project. You have another opportunity in Friday. I think that John is at 11 or at 12 in the morning. I don't remember. And he's also sending announcements. And I was telling before, people try to go to those meetings, even if your problems now are something that if you spend half an hour working in it, you could figure out yourself. It's good that you go see the tutor to practice. Seeing the tutor is not scary. Tutors are very helpful. They're very nice people. And you're warming up the engine, because once we begin working with code, you are gonna need the help of a tutor. So it's good that you go now, that you have a little problem that is not a big deal. So you practice in what is to go see a tutor and go to a Zoom meeting with a tutor. It also helps us because we're being tracked for the first time. There's a general tracking in the whole college on what is the use that the students are doing of tutors. And if this is like John and the Wolf, you know, if you're not doing it, you should be doing it, but you're not practicing. The day that you really need a tutor, it might happen that we don't have tutors anymore. We don't have budgets, because when it was time to demonstrate that tutors weren't being used, people were like, nah, maybe I don't have time. I don't need it. can solve it by myself. And then, you know, you get at the end of the assignment and you didn't put it together, but you're like, oh, well, what can we do? When you could actually be helped, and being helped now means that we figure out in the data, people are getting help. And that means that we're going to have a budget in next year that is going to be a very tight year. We're all going to be, you know, education wise, our budgets are, because the income from taxes is also decreasing. So please, if you need and you have a chance, go see the tutor. It makes them happy. It makes me happy. You get help, you perform better, and we're tracking data. So it's a win-win situation. I really don't see the reason why you would not go see a tutor if you have a doubt. Okay? I'll send an email and remind the 16 students that are not here. Let's look at the nesting. Okay, so this is the other file. As you see, it says it's saying 6 because we used to be nesting on week 6. So look how lucky you were that you didn't have nesting. Let's look at some nesting. Nesting 0. Maybe this is why there's complaining, because there are no SWFs, it's all FLAs, but they're old FLAs. They're still saved. So what I have here is I have a little character that has one eye that contains animation and the other eye that is the still element. Let me, for a second, I'm gonna put myself here. I select this one, selecting both. Why are you selecting both? Silly face. Oh, because all silly face is a symbol. Okay, go inside silly face. So this eye is circle, all right? And this one is circle animation. Okay, so this is my eye that is still. I double click and I see the still eye. Go back inside silly face. And this one has an animation. And although it's only rotating, since the elements are not in the center, you actually see the rotation very well. Okay, so there I have silly face that contains 2 eyes that are different. And then at a certain point, I guess I'm going to animate silly face. Yes, silly face is becoming smaller. But silly face, because there's one element that is animating inside, keeps animating. Meanwhile, now is scaling down. Now let me look for a second. Let me go 1 second back to silly face and see if this one is a graphic. Probably. Am I silly face? No, I'm on stage. We need to look up here. I'm inside silly face. And it's a graphic. So we actually need those frames in order to make it work. Okay, we could very easily make it a movie clip, and then we will not see it here, but we'll see it when we export to SWF. So I'm not saying that you cannot have animation inside a graphic symbol. It's just that now you need to be counting frames. That is a little bit extra. Okay, so this is case 0, 101, nesting. We get it. Now let's go to the second one. Insect nesting. I even gave you, okay. And again, don't worry. It's just telling me about actions. I don't have code. I don't have action scripting. It's telling me this because it's an old file. So in this case, I have a little bug symbol that is actually following. Oh, I took out the guy. So here we have the symbol that is moving. Let me select this guy, go inside, and I put each one of the legs in a different layer. And each one of the legs, as you see, contains animation. Here I see leg animation. Let me go straight ahead to leg animation. And this is an insane shape twin that I had to put shape hints so the leg wouldn't go, you know, crazy. But I got the leg to do a little rotation and a little rotation back. And I remember that back in the day, I had a lot of problems with this. But once I have a leg that is moving, I put a shape twin, so you wouldn't need a symbol that was a leg and then the leg was moving to make it one step simpler. That's one advantage of shape twin, that you're in the place. So this leg is moving, isn't it? So then I can be in insect moving. And insect moving will just have a whole bunch of legs. They're all the same leg. And they're all, the antennas, I put them backwards and a little scale. And what I have is an insect that is moving. It's a little bit in panic mode, but it's moving. And the same thing, let's go out. So I have my insect that is just doing its thing. It's moving here because it's a graphic symbol. And this what happened here is very interesting to you. Then I say, okay, let me have this guy moving, following a guide. You see the guy up there? So he's moving, following a guide. So suddenly it was too much for the graphic symbol to be doing the movement inside and following a guide. It was not doing it. So even here, we had to change the bud to work as a movie clip. Because when it works as a movie clip, it doesn't have to be thinking what is happening inside at the same time that what is happening outside. They're separate. So then it was working way better. Now, I even have a note here. Notice that the bug is a movie clip. So when I export this one, I have it moving when it's still, and I have it moving when it's following. It's going a little bit too fast. It should go slower. But it's still moving because it's a movie clip. And when I had it working the bug as a graphic, it was just not being able to do everything. So that's another advantage. When you have animation inside a movie clip, a short loop, you're saving rendering engine. Remember that in this program, the rendering engine happens on the fly. You export, and on the fly is looking at the thing and is rendering what it has to do. It's different from the rendering engine in a video. And do I want this one? Oh, the one with the flies. Let me show it quickly. 1055. Another one that is complaining. I'm so shocked that it tells me this is dangerous. Okay, so this was done by a student of mine. Very interesting, a student of mine. A student that was doing very bad in other classes, but he proved to be a genius in this class because he had a little bit of a learning disability in other areas, but he had he had no problem with non-linear thinking. He was outstanding in non-linear thinking and with a lot of problems in linear thinking. And that happens a lot with people that are dyslexic, people that are ADD, ADHD, including people that are Asperger's. All those people tend to have very good understanding of non-linear thinking. It's fascinating. So we're usually considering them, labeling them completely unfairly, labeling them as, oh, that person has a learning disability. And then you put them here and they leave the rest of the class down there with the shoes and the dirty socks. They're like, whoa. Because they actually, what happens, they're thinking in a different way. And they have talents and they have skills that the other people don't have to match. Those people have more problems learning linearly. So they have learned to be outstanding in seeing things in a non-linear way, the only way that they can understand the world. So this is my basic file, my basic fly from my guy. And it only has 2 frames. Is yes, no, yes, no. And you want to say, what a simple fly. It's incredibly effective. Let me for a second show you this thing. Where do I have the loop playback? Let me have this guy. It's a little bit like you're seeing, you're not seeing, you're seeing, not you're seeing. And now it's working very quick. But when we get out and we have a whole bunch of flies, it's going to go a little bit slower and it's going to be really remarkable. So this is his basic nested symbol. Now, how do I stop this? That's what I stop. Stop. So you see, he doesn't have a tween. He doesn't have a shape tween. He only has a frame by frame animation. That's fine. That's his basic fly animation. And then when he goes out, there's a whole bunch. Oh, he has another symbol. I was forgetting. It's a graphic symbol. And he's following a guide. Who's doing this? And when I saw the guide, I said, this is going to be so bad. No, the fly is working great. It's a fly/B. And let me play it. I'm going to not let you see this. And here you have it. And you're still saying, okay, I mean, it works good. It's actually that path is working really good. And now we see it in the outside. Except for, he left 2 or 3 still that according to him were the queens. And then the rest is just flying around. And the flying is really good. The way that he calculated the difference between one and the other? I'm looking at it now and it could be a little bit longer, isn't it? Like woo, 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 and then repeating. But this guy, I don't know if you look at this, he didn't do this in week 6. Meanwhile, the rest was doing frame by frame animation. And I happened to say, you can use a symbol. Meanwhile, the rest was barely managing to use a symbol. He asked me, can I have an animation inside a symbol? I'm like, yeah, but be careful. He said, I want to move it like that. So I had to help him say, okay, let me tell you how we can do a guide and we can have it move it better. He drew his guide. And when I saw the frame by frame animation, it was this. And I was like, my gosh, on week 3, he's performing better than the rest of the class in week 6. And this was a guy that had strong problems. He took math, I think, 3 or 4 times and English 3 or 4 times because linear thinking was so difficult for him. But here he was the star, no? Like he literally left the rest of the class a galaxy behind. So there you have a very interesting, I hope he's doing good, a very interesting example of nesting from a very clean and fresh soul. Okay, let's look at the last one. This is the challenging one. 11. Okay, let's try to do it in 5-10 minutes. This one is a little bit more lioso because what I did is I took, those are like goggles. I took, do I have, yeah. It's all with graphic symbols yet. It's an old file for week 6, but it will work even better if you work with movieclips symbols. So what I wanted to do is something related to goggles, and I wanted to be able to move physically the goggles, but then have what the goggles are seeing making sense. Then at the end, I decided that I was going to change the horizon again. So it came out a little bit like hyper complicated because it's difficult to think of a real situation in which you move the goggles and you're following the birds in such a way. It could be done. You know, if the birds were moving and the goggles were moving, you were like trying to go behind the birds. Something like that could happen. So those are my goggles and they're moving. Double click so I can go inside. And here I have an element that actually has a mask. You know, my goggles are acting as a mask. And I'm moving also the birds. So I know exactly when the birds are inside the area and when they're not. And it's not a loop, Alejandra, bad girl. It should have been a loop. I should have moved it back so it's back in the same place. Okay, so I have a background scene, and I'm guessing that if I select the background scene, there's more things. Yes, here I have the complete animation. And if those guys are doing that, that means those guys are also symbols. Yes. So it could happen, especially if you're somebody that is not here, not doing very good in the class. By the time you're looking at this file, you're like, I cannot understand it. This is going on. Okay, then don't work with this file. Do a simpler form of nesting. So this file is already for people that are doing B plus A, so they can see another level. Now, the one that I really want you to see, and I don't know where I have it, probably is later. Yes, is this one. It took me sweat and blood to learn this. I had to learn it on the spot with a deadline on top of me and really risking my job. Somebody had the brilliant idea that they wanted a Christmas flash animation card. And the art director said, I want things flying constantly. And actually it was snowflakes, but I really like the candy corn example. So they wanted candy corn or snowflakes or whatever it was falling down all the time. And we had to do it in a file that was small and with a structure that would be efficient. So it couldn't be, okay, now I'm going to be animating snowflake by snowflake, because that would not play, you know? You would play it on the browser, on somebody that had a lot of files in the browser, and that would, So they gave me a preview and said, nothing is working. So nothing is working because they have not structured it the right way. So how do we do these? And the final effect is this. You want a middle area where you see different layers of things that are falling, but we don't want to be creating them all by hand. So the first thing that we do is we create our first element that is a fireball. And this is just a guy. I even have the text in a guide, so it doesn't go out. Then we're going to be creating another symbol that contains this guide, this little fireball candy corn, and it's following a guide, and what it's doing is just follow down and become small. So this is my element that is dropping. But now I need series of them dropping, isn't it? So I go back to my stage. I'm gonna, for a second, take this up. And I'm gonna take the visibility of the mask off so you can see what is happening. And I wanna go to the very beginning here, bing. And I have a whole bunch of candy corns that already contain their animation. Let me take all the rest, I don't wanna see it. So these, the first one, visible to the beginning here. And now, but then they disappear because the animation it goes down and becomes smaller. So it's like, okay, there was a row, nothing else. So what do? At a certain point, you have another wave. And I began it a little bit too late. Like it could have begun it here already and we will be good, isn't it? So I have my first row and then my second row that is there. I don't like too much that mix of angles. I understand why I put it where I put it. So this one is beginning, and then very soon the next one is beginning. Let me put it with this color so you see. You don't see very good with that color. What an unfortunate color. So gray is not a color. We want something like green. Okay. First, second, there they are, my second batch. And then my third batch is going to be blue. And it's going to be fine. Yellow batch is going down. I still have a little bit of the previous one. Next batch is coming down. That is the blue. And this way, you organize something that constantly look like it's raining, man. Hallelujah, it's raining, man. Okay, it's raining candy corn. Falling forever. Now, in the first one, it was a little bit simple. So either this is the beginning of the rain, or you need to put the end of another one that is right here, beginning its thing. Okay. Now, how would I put one that is already beginning here? I will need a new layer that is inside the mask. And I'm going to put it right on top of this one. I'm going to call it mask 0. And over here, I have another bunch of those guys beginning. So I'm going to copy that. It's not visible. Yes. Copy them. Keyframe. Not going to see them. Paste in place. There they are. And now I'm going to want all those guys. And instead of beginning, because 2 series of the same beginning, that does nothing. Let's see if I can do it with all at the same time. Okay, I want to go to something that is frame picker. Now, could I do the frame picker to all of them at the same time? Oh yes, they were all selected. All them selected, and I see frame picker. All those guys are going to begin, I forgot how long is this animation, but let's say that it was 16. 16, do you have 16 animation? No, it doesn't want. Okay, just do it with the slider. It's getting confused. Okay. Let me go inside 1 second. We have 20, so we would like to begin everybody in 10. Okay. I'm not looking at the right place. You are going to begin more or less 10 minutes. You are going to begin, can I enter the number? 10, perfect. You are going to begin 11. You are going to begin. So this is something else that you can do with both. 0 now. With both, let me see if I can do 3 at the same time. Yeah, I can take 3 at the same time and say, I think it was, oh, it doesn't want to do it anymore. Okay, 1 by 1. Are you seeing there's some of them that are kind of disappearing. All right, let's see this one. No. What if that one is there? Slider seems to be the best. So I want another batch that is halfway or finishing. So close. Let's look. And now when let's see the other one, what I have is a more complex scene where I see more guys going around. Now, take into account that the place that is going to be the more stable is the middle, because those guys are going from the top to the bottom. So that's why I made a mask. You know, when I have all of them together, in that middle realm, I tend to have things that work in a more constant way. In the upper and the lower one, I might end with everybody there, and the other one are still very high, so I only see one. I still have some moments like this. They look cute and random. Okay, so that's another use of nesting. And then I've talked about this important thing, that is that when you have a symbol, it's not going to let me because I have the mask, but when you have a symbol, can I have to go to the beginning. When can I grab somebody? We're all locked, Alejandra. When you have a symbol, you can go here to the frame picker and decide in what frame is that symbol going to begin playing. Very, very important. Okay, and that's part of the looping. How do you want the looping to be working? It's also in properties, in the same place where you put the color effects. Okay, so this last file is the most complicated one. If you have problems understanding this one, that's why I made the car. Stay with one that is simpler, like the car that has wheels, 4 wheels that are still, or 4 wheels that contain animation. That is an easier to comprehend situation. Okay, and we're gonna leave it like that because we're 11:11, and I've gone through all the possibilities of working with movie clips, working with loops, and nesting symbols. Those of you that were missing the mask, remember to include a mask inside something here, and tell me in the message that, hey, Alejandra, count my mask that I was able to put it together. Have a lot of fun. Please visit the tutors. I'm going to be sending emails, you remember, and I'll see you next week.